Hello and welcome to Horseplayer Happy Hour. It's the playoffs, folks. We've moved on to a new stage of the season. Very happy to say we got some good, rock-solid participation in our first direct qualifier to the BCBC that we're running this year. It was $179 to play. That one's underway. Maybe we can take a look, AJ, at the current leaderboard for that one while we wait for today's first guest to join us. But if you missed out today, don't worry. We've got 3 more weeks left of Horseplayer Happy Hour. And during those 3 Thursdays, we're going to have one of these accompanying our playoffs every day. So what's different about this? Well, it's a chance to qualify on a Thursday. But here's the most important thing. What's different about it is a chance to enter a qualifier where the house cut goes entirely to charity. Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance and the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation get that cut. So this is a great way to support Thoroughbred Aftercare and win your way in to the BCBC. We've also got our playoffs going on. We'll just name check some of the top names here. I'll just do the top 3 because I think it's the first person right now, Joseph Hardoon. Is any relation to another Hardoon whose name I know in racing? If you're watching, Joseph, let me know that. He's in first right now, 41.40 with 2 to play, 8.5 the rest of the way. Then we've got Steve Terlack in second, 32.20, 1.4 the rest of the way. And Michael Marlaire, 31.50 also. Lots of other people in the hunt. But that's what's going on in the direct qualifier today. Well, again, we were very pleased with the participation to get 79 people to put up that dough. We're making some serious money for Thoroughbred Aftercare. AJ, while you switch it, I didn't prep you for this. There's 2 leaderboards today. And maybe I put myself away. I thought I was reading the one that was the direct qualifier there. Is it possible I was reading the playoff one, AJ? I apologize if I got this wrong. That might have been the playoff one. This may be one of the bigger host fails in the history of Horseplayer Happy Hour. But just to explain to you, AJ, hopefully the leaderboards will be intuitive. One of them is a direct qualifier to the BCBC. The other is going to be like called first round of the playoffs or something. One way you know is the one that is the qualifier. That one was the qualifier. Okay, let's bring that back up, AJ. Bring back up the qualifier. Forget everything I said before. So this is the people who made the playoffs. So it's the top 2 finishers from every week, and then the other tour, the people who finished with the highest tour scores. So part of the reason these scores are so low is people are not shooting the moon here. They're looking to finish in the top half. And I'll read them all at the end. I'm not going to do it now. But if you scroll down, AJ, right now, the cut line here is 40. So these top 40 players are all in position. We can see the list of names coming by. Right now, the cut line at just 990 with these 2 races left to play. And now let's switch it to the direct qualifier if we can. And we'll talk about that. And then we'll bring in our guest. So looking now at the 1 guaranteed seed, it is still Joseph Hardoon. It's still the same names, interestingly. 41.40, Steve Terlack at 32.20, and then right now, and Michael Marlaire. So that's so funny. It is the same 3 people. I wouldn't have thought that necessarily. All right, enough leaderboard looking for now. We're going to bring in the man who's co-hosting here today. We're going to pick his brain about these last couple of races coming up at Aqueduct, Belmont at Aqueduct. That is, I refer to Jonathan Gitchin. JK, make sure you unmute and say hi to us.
Woo! I'm out here in middle of nowhere, Texas, basically. sitting in some sort of parking lot, and my iPad was dead, and then it's a lot. No one cares about my tech problems, but I'm alive now. I'm here.
I care.
I'm well. Here we go.
I care. I care about your travel woes. We appreciate you making the effort and getting on here. We had that rare Wednesday at Belmont with some stakes race action yesterday. That was a ton of fun. Really enjoyed getting to have that. And the action continues apace, not just today, but this weekend. But while we have you, and we've got some time actually. Okay, this is interesting. We're going to be okay here. We're going to be okay. Why don't we talk about these Belmont races coming up, the 8th and the 9th? We'll get those thoughts out of the way here. While we do that, we will check in with some of the people who are watching, including Peachy Patty. We say hello to you, Patty, for joining us. Appreciate seeing a new name and face. Oscar is here. Gary is still alive, watching along. Trish, who's in our playoffs, played more aggressive, trying to find some longer shots, thinking maybe she should have played it safe. But we'll see, Trish. You know, I mean, if you get one horse in these last couple, you might well have the opportunity to qualify. So don't give up yet is my best advice to you, Trish. Richard's been a stalwart in the comments, and Peachy Patty sounds like a particularly big JK fan. Maybe JK is part of the reason why Peachy Patty has turned up today. And Frankie from the UK is saying hello to us as well. So yeah, give us your comments. We might even have time. The way this breaks out, with it being 16 minutes to race 8 at Belmont at Aqueduct, I think we're going to have time to talk about more than we originally planned, JK. Now I see we've lost your picture, but are you just?
No, I was resetting. I didn't want people to see my weird looking angles that I might have presented to you. So yeah.
No, you look handsome as ever. You'll be okay. Want to talk about these races real quick?
Yeah. Well, yes, it's going to be a struggle for me since this iPad is not cooperating, but I'll fake it till I make it.
I can lead the discussion. You'll know a handful of these. You'll know a handful of these runners, and obviously you must have looked at it before as a inveterate New York racing fan. Obviously, no. I was wondering if you had any chance when you're down there on Thursdays, if you can be on in the morning, but it doesn't sound like. It sounds like normally Thursday, this time of year, you're just popping on to Horseplayer Happy Hour. You're not doing the Fox thing.
No. I don't do Fox on Thursdays. So it's only Friday, Saturday, Sunday for me.
Gotcha. Well, and also let us know in the comments who you liked here in race number 8 at Saratoga. We've got this allowance for fillies and mares 3 and up. We're going a mile on the dirt, and we can actually pull up the betting here as well and take a quick look at that. If you have it handy there, AJ, go ahead and throw the simulcast feed up for a second. So I can give you the current odds as we're here with 12 minutes to post. One name that leapt off the page at me in this spot was number 6, Cupid's Heart. Curious to see what kind of a price we're getting there. 7-2 seems like an okay price to me.
Is that the Bruce? That's the Bruce Levine, right?
Correct. Bruce Levine, sort of a stalking running style. Had big trouble last time, I thought, in that race at Saratoga. And
I picked the horse that day. Look, I'm doing this all off of the memory. No past performances. Yeah. Horse ran second.
Third beaten 3 as the 4-5 favorite.
What about the time before that?
Second, the time before that, beaten 3/4, also at Saratoga.
Got it. And how far are they going today?
This is a mile. They're stretching back out in distance. 2 back was 7 furlongs. Last time was 6.5.
Short price?
Not bad, I don't think. 7-2 sounds okay to me for Cupid's Heart. This is the horse that I thought, just looking quickly, it was going to be in a great space. Early on, I think, in the race, I think we're going to get a nice stalking and pouncing trip with Cupid's Heart.
Yeah, I worry about the distance for that horse, right? I mean, I remember, I think it's 6 furlongs horse is looks tough. But, a lot of times in those situations when you're switching from those distances, one of the biggest things that happens is that a horse, they get to relax a little bit. They don't have to run as fast to keep up. And I think sometimes you can get big performances from horses like that I'm trying to pull it up now so I can see who else is in there, because I know I'm not being very helpful.
I'll run it down. I like what you're saying. I mean, we'll talk more about the concepts, and I think what you're talking about is the difference between what we would say in the USA sprint speed and route speed, with a route race being won at a mile or over. And I was thinking Cupid's Heart might be suited by it. But to your point about questioning the distance, the last time Cupid's Heart did go this mile, granted, it was the end of the season last year. It was sort of a pop and stop job, total downline, was leading halfway through the race with some solid pace figures, ended up only third. But I don't know about you, JK, but for me, when a race precedes a layoff, like let's say a horse goes long once and doesn't run well, and then that precedes the layoff, that makes me think, well, there was a layoff, so something else could have gone wrong. Maybe we don't need to draw any conclusions about how far she wants to run based on
that. Yeah, I mean, I've never really been one of those people that like think about like the circumstance of a horse running long, or it's like, oh, they did it once, they don't want to do it again, or the best time to, you know, the one thing I've always been kind of against is that whole idea of like, you know, a horse they'll run well first time long, they'll run well, but then after that they're like realize they don't like it. I find all of those to be a little bit too Dr. Doolittle for me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've heard those kind of things. They'll do something once, and then I need to see that in the PPs. I mean, I think you might see that with a horse running and going off form, but yeah, I don't really hold to that. I don't really hold to that idea either. Chris has chimed in. He likes the favorite in here. That's the 8 Portage. That's who he put on top. But he mentioned Sweet Mystery as one that could be a potential upsetter. Pure Pauline, one that Pletcher's been trying to get right, that always showed talent in the mornings, but not the afternoons. Maybe a bit of a morning glory is the suggestion there from Chris on that one. But a couple of different alternatives there with the 8 and the 5 and the 2. The 2 Pure Pauline looks to be taking some money. We'll take Chris's comment away, and I'll tell you exactly how much. 3-1 there. I'm happy taking a little bit of a shot here with Cupid's Heart at this 3-1. Thank you for chiming in, Chris. Another question we can answer along the way here. Richard wants to know if we'll be attending the Breeders' Cup at Santa Anita this year. JK?
Yeah, I mean, I my plan is I'm not missing a Breeders' Cup forever. So they could run it in Boise, Idaho, and I'd likely be there. If they run it at Santa Anita, then I'm definitely going to be there.
It's going to be so much fun. I'll be out there too. I'm getting out a little earlier than JK. We're going to be doing a ton of work for the Breeders' Cup content team, as we've been doing all season here on Horseplayer Happy Hour. There's rumors of some karaoke. Don't know if JK is going to be there in time for that, which is really a shame, because I think that has the potential to make a pretty good little video for us. We'll come up with some other really fun stuff as well. We've been fortunate to create some content that people have liked the last several years, and also giving out a bunch of winners, especially when it comes to some of the international invaders. And speaking of that, our international coverage, I think, is now officially launched on YouTube. As this video is going on, we are posting the first video, which is 10 international runners we want to see, starring Vanessa Ryle and Michael Adolphson. So some definite clues there. Gary chiming in. He'll be at the Breeders' Cup. Gary, come say hi. If you see us out there, it's always good to meet people who support In the Money and support the Breeders' Cup and support our Thoroughbred Aftercare charities as well by participating in these games. So that's something to take a look at. Another plug I'll put in. Later tonight, we're going to have a full-on analysis of this really cool Breeders' Cup Challenge Pick 6. 3 races from Keeneland, 3 from Santa Anita. We're going to actually do it live on our In the Money YouTube is probably the easiest way to follow it. You could also follow on Santa Anita YouTube or In the Money or Santa Anita social channels. We're going to have Sean Borman, pro player, Sean Borman on there. Nick Tamaro makes the morning line at Keeneland, does so much great work for us at inthemoneypodcast.com, behind the mic at Sam Houston, etc. He'll be there. And Jeff Chapman, representing the West Coast contingent. That's going to be at 9, and that will then be archived, obviously, on YouTube, and we'll post that one as a podcast as well. But I love that concept of a wager, JK, having all the BC prep races. I mean, maybe that's something that could almost become a series of bets throughout the year. Are you stuck on mute?
Yeah, look, I'm never mad at a pick six or a multi-race wager that. Lose you guys? What's going on here?
We're back. I hear you again. We heard you're never mad at a pick six, and then we lost you.
Yeah, my phone, it's like trying to go to my car. I'm having a tough time here, Pete.
Get yourself organized and come back. Do you want to get yourself organized and come back in 5 minutes? I got this. JK is trying to get it all sorted out as we get ahead for this race at Belmont at Aqueduct. But yeah, it's just a super it's a super cool idea. John Gasper, a very funny comment for those that don't know. Earlier in the year, to help get him out of a losing streak, Sean Borman did his series of pro player podcasts, and then he had his big score, and he hasn't wanted to do one since. So John says doesn't root for anyone to lose, but if Sean goes on another losing streak, we'll hear his podcast. Well, you'll hear him tonight going over these 6 races, something a little different. I'm really going to be holding his feet to the fire to make some selections, not something he's always willing to do. And he did text me earlier in the day, how did you rope me into this? So hopefully he's not going to mind. I'll probably let him talk a little more conceptually rather than truly holding his feet to the fire in terms of selections. But I'm sure we're going to get some good stuff. Oh, this is great. Frankie is coming over for the first time to the Breeders' Cup. You're going to have an amazing time, Frankie. Santa Anita is a wonderful venue, and LA, I mean, boy, especially as it starts to get cold over in England, you're going to really enjoy the Santa Anita weather, and there's so much fun to be had around there. Now, it's not, people think of LA. That's, this is its own part of LA. It's very, very cool. It's not so much like the beach and sunshine, but there are amazing California things to do, like hiking, and still amazing Asian food right near Santa Anita. I'm sure we'll be doing something with Din Tai Fung while we're there. Some of my favorite dumplings in the world. Good breweries. Even just the town of Arcadia has some really fun places to go. It's an amazing venue for the Breeders' Cup. So glad you're coming in, Frankie. And definitely look for us. Pretty easy guys to find between the hat and the hair. Would love to say hi. Tell us you reached out to us via Horseplayer Happy Hour, and we'll absolutely make sure to get to spend a minute, and who knows, maybe raise a pint, depending on the time of day and how many hours of broadcasting there are left. Other things coming up this weekend. We're going to have JK back for the Lake Week show tomorrow. We're going to be talking about racing from Belmont at Aqueduct and Keeneland for Saturday on that one. That'll be the best place to get our New York coverage. And we've got another one of these shows with our friends at Race Lens, and our friend, matter of fact, Volgi is going to be in. Also very excited. Yeah, that's going to be a live stream tomorrow at 10. As you know, Raceland is a product that prides itself on being used in conjunction with other handicapping products. And another handicapping product we need to talk about real quick here is Daily Racing Form. They've just launched their coverage of the Breeders' Cup in, they've been covering it all year essentially, but just officially with all the lists out. Great work from Brad Free and David Aragona. Make sure you check that out on drf.com. In future weeks, we're going to try to have some DRF guests on here to join us, and maybe we can talk about what goes into some of the decisions they make as it pertains to putting their rankings together. David and Brad have done a lot of appearances on our airwaves over the years. Maybe we can even get both of them on to do a nice little plug, just so you know what's going on with them. They've got a cool Breeders' Cup package as well. Of course, we also encourage people to check out our In the Money Plus Breeders' Cup package. I'm going to be doing a little video about that later today that's going to go out in our free newsletter. So you can sign up for our free newsletter. It's really the best way to keep track of everything going on, and in terms of content across the whole network, all the JK plus ones, all the In the Rings, all the owners boxes, all the Red Board rewinds, all the Matt Bernier show, etc., etc. InTheMoneyPodcast.com/email, the place to go for that one. It's interesting. They look like they on the track. They look like they were closer to breaking than this graphic on screen says. That still says that there are 3 minutes to post, but we'll see if we can get that figured out for you as well. But yeah, this is one of the biggest weekends of the year, and we are going to do a special project after this race goes at Belmont at Aqueduct, where JK and I do our way too early Breeders' Cup predictions. If we can't get him back, we'll have to record that later and that'll be up on YouTube soon. But hopefully, we're going to have him in. That's so funny. Richard says when he went to the Breeders' Cup in 2008, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Vivica Fox were there. No offense to Arnold, but I think I'd be more interested in Vivica Fox. In truth, I worked with Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the day. This is something that not that many people know. When I was an assistant an editorial assistant at Simon & Schuster in the 90s, we did the revise. My boss, Bob Mikoy, and I did the revise of Arnold's bodybuilding encyclopedia. And it was really my project. And I got like super into it, right? I was doing the Arnold routine. My body just like forever changed. I used to be like a pretty skinny guy before I got into the Arnold stuff. Now, some of it's just age, obviously, but some of it was doing the Arnold program. I wish I had a picture. I don't have any like glam bodybuilding shots, but you could see I was pretty muscled up there for a couple of years in the late 90s. And people will laugh at this too. My workout partner during that time, you could probably guess it, Frank Scattoni, who sat next to me at SNS. One of the things we did, in addition to the fantasy baseball team and the softball team and all of that stuff, is that we obviously got into racing, started following along with that, but we were workout buddies for a long time, going and spotting each other on the bench press, etc. And working with Arnold was a hoot. He was actually very, very involved, and he had particular, let's just call them prejudices against certain bodybuilders who we didn't think were quite fit enough or quite in the right place in their fitness cycle, as it were, to be photographed for his book. And he did actually call me at one point. I will not name the name of the well-known bodybuilder he was body shaming, but he said, "Pete, we can't have pictures of fatty in this book. No pictures of fatty." So we had to like somehow, I can't even remember how we did it, but we subbed out. We either found a couple of angles and we had to kick this one guy out of the book and then reshoot a bunch of stuff with a guy who was more muscled up. He was a tough taskmaster, Arnold, but I was just impressed at how much he, even in his mega celebrity days, he was into his political career then, and he really cared about the book, which I thought was cool. Anyway, it's a classic, the Bodybuilding Encyclopedia. I know ideas on working out have evolved since then, and I don't bodybuild anymore. All the strength stuff I do is just from yoga, and honestly, I've been stronger from doing yoga than I ever was bodybuilding in terms of like real life strength, but it's still a classic if you're interested in, pumping iron, as it were. Okay, we are about to go to this race at Belmont Aqueduct. It's the 6 for me in the spot, Cupid's Heart. We got a lot of people on Portage. Let's see how it all plays out as we send it to the call.
They're all in. And they're off. Safora Dada, Portage is there. Now moving up is Mongolian Panther. And from the inside, it is Fancy Azteca. Portage has the lead. Fancy Azteca up to challenge with Mongolian Panther sitting just off of them in third. Then in between horses, it is Sweet Mystery, passed on the inside by a Pure Pauline as they race up the backstretch. And up front, it is Portage and Fancy Azteca right together. Mongolian Panther just off of them in third. Pure Pauline down at the rail end in fourth. Safora Dada on the outside in fifth. Then the gray Sweet Mystery in sixth, 3.5 lengths to Toned Up in seventh, followed by Cupid's Heart, who is in eighth. And way back in the field is Mia Be a Star. Opening half, 1:45.1. So it is Portage on the outside with a narrow lead. Fancy Azteca down at the rail. It's 2 lengths to a Mongolian Panther, who's running in third. And then a break of 5 back to a Sweet Mystery. Down at the rail is Toned Up. And on the outside is a Cupid's Heart. The field is in the stretch. 3/4 in 109.4. Portage is the leader here with Mongolian Panther and Toned Up giving chase second and third. Cupid's Heart on the outside in fourth, followed by Sweet Mystery. It is Portage trying to hold off Toned Up, who is coming on here. Portage and Toned Up, they come for the finish, and Portage does it, 3/4 of a length. Toned Up was second, and Cupid's Heart rallied for third.
Nearly a big upset there with that big run. That would have changed things around in terms of our leaderboard for sure. But in the end, it's Portage who gets the job done. Let's test you, JK, and then if it works, I'm going to intro you for this separate little video we're going to do. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Sounds good. You've picked up some gnarly background noise that you didn't have before.
How about now?
That's better, infinitely better. What was that?
That was the AC in my car blowing into the mic. It's in Texas. I can't turn the AC off. I'll die in here.
No, I get it. No dogs in cars, no podcasters either. It can be very, very deleterious to say the least. Okay, we got to do this thing. So JK, you disappear him, AJ, and now I'm going to introduce him, and we're going to do this spot. Okay. It's time for our way too early Breeders' Cup predictions. I'm your host, Peter Thomas Fornatal, coming to you from the Brooklyn Bunker, and I'll bring in my co-predictor for the show. He's coming to us from his car. He is not driving Uber. That is just a rumor, not happening. Though I think he does have a ride or two on his book historically. He is the man, the myth, the legend, Jonathan Kinchett from Fox Sports. JK, how are you?
I'm doing well, PTF. I think we got this. You switch between 5G, 5G auto, LTE. There's no Wi-Fi out here. There's barely even a Chick-fil-A around here. So we're doing our best.
It's remote in Texas when there's not even a Chick-fil-A around there. Let's do these bold predictions, my friend. I'm going to start us off. I think that Europe. Actually, no, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say that international runners, not necessarily Europe, international runners win all 3 Saturday distance turf races. What do you think?
Mile, turf, turf for sure. With no.
We might not have one in the top 5. We might not hit the top 5 in the turf. That one's, there's nothing bold about that one.
I will say this. If Up to the Mark shows up at Keeneland this weekend and does what he was doing early in the year, in the spring, he's the only shot we have as a North American horse to win the turf. As far as the mile is concerned, I guess I need to figure out how I feel officially about Master of Seas. I'll get that answer this weekend, but I do think Casa Creed is sneaky as a horse that might really appreciate what's going to happen at Santa Anita with that kind of those tight turns and some pace to close into and some firm ground. And as far as the filly and mare turf race goes, look, I think in Italian, I said it before, I didn't think she'd lose a race this year. She did lose a race to White Beam in the Diana. I think she's outstanding as well. And I think the 1.25 miles, if she runs in that race, gets loose on the front end, a little bit like Day at the Spa for Chad Brown, I think she could be unbelievably dangerous for those Europeans or those not U.S. horses to try to run down. I'm going to disagree with you. And in fact, I think I'll give you one of the 3 races is going to be won by not U.S. contingent. I'm going to give the home team the other 2.
You make some good points about those 2 horses in particular. Up to the Mark, we'll learn so much more. In Italian is interesting. We've seen that movie before with Chad Brown with a speedster winning the 1.25 miles at Santa Anita. And in Italian, very big prices right now. Something on the order of 20-1, I think, for that race. Maybe there's some question if she might try the mile. Would you think she'd have a shot in there if she went to the mile instead of the filly and mare?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think it's a pretty crazy price. I know that at one point Chad thought about maybe mile, but I just feel it depends, right? I think depends what happens this weekend. The First Lady with White Beam and with an Italian, right? Like if White Beam wins again, then I think maybe there's a conversation to run White Beam in the filly and mare turf. Then you run an Italian in the mile. Let's just see what happens. I think an Italian's pretty damn good, whether it's a mile or a 1.25 miles, but I'd like her a little bit more going the 1.25 miles.
And for future viewers watching this, you'll have that information at the ready based on what happens this weekend. You can inform these way too early predictions. And we'll be making loads of predictions along the way over at InTheMoneyPodcast.com on our Horseplayer Happy Hour broadcast for Breeders' Cup. Join us live every Thursday between 4 and 5. And if you want even more, check out In the Money Plus, InTheMoneyPodcast.com/plus, where you get all of our Breeders' Cup covered. So there's loads of free stuff as well. Your first prediction, JK.
Oh, you cut out a little bit. One more time, Pete, on that last little piece.
Your first prediction, what should it be?
Who?
It's like an Abbott and Costello routine at this point. What's your first Breeders' Cup prediction?
Oh, there we go. Well, we talked about a few of them off here. I'm going to go. I don't know what. Hopefully, you're ready for this graphically. I'm going to go with that. The home team, California, will win both juvenile dirt races. I think Tamara is going to win the juvenile fillies, and I think that Prince of Monaco is going to win the juvenile, just the straight juvenile on the dirt.
Well, I think that we're going to get some major clues clearly this weekend. Do you see either of the big 2-year-old races potentially mixing up where you're going with that? Because of course we got the Champagne and we've got we've got Fierceness involved, and then we've got the race at Keeneland as well. But I mean, especially between Fierceness and Timberlake, that's the first place my brain goes as to how we might upset your all California apple cart.
Yeah, I think there's 3 horses that can ruin this too early prediction in the next 48 hours. One of them is Timberlake, the other one is Fierceness, and the other one is Muth. Right? I think one of those 3 horses could really blow up this entire idea that I have. Well, I guess Muth
would be on your side
a little bit because he's from California, yeah. Right?
Yeah.
But I think those are the only 3 horses, in my opinion, right now that have shown anything that could lead to beating Prince of Monaco.
That's interesting that you're still so high on him. I thought the last run was more workmanlike and was starting to think maybe he was more Cave Rock than he was one of the giants that we've seen in years past. But you remain pretty sold on Prince of Monaco.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think when you can run really fast numbers like he did 2 races back, it deserves some attention. Little disappointed that he didn't run as fast last time, but let's see. Let's just see, because and also he ran against Muth last time. So if Muth comes back and kind of can kind of run a big race, there's also that possibility too that just might have been a light number.
Let's keep it with the 2-year-olds. My next one, Tamara romps in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. I've just been so impressed with her, JK. And I'm really not worried after looking at how Mom was handled, especially Beholder, about her having about her stretching out and getting the job done. She's just such a classy animal. She ran such a fast figure. I know there's a lot of optimism about some of these fillies we're going to be seeing this weekend in the Alcibiades. Notice I said it correctly. I think Tamara romps. Any agreement or disagreement?
No, I do. I agree. I like her so far. Like you said, part of the exercise of doing this 2 early predictions is we are a little bit ahead of a couple of big races this weekend that could change them all. So it's kind of cute to put those opinions out now. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, we'll see what happens in some of the other races around the country. But what she's shown me, the upside I expect from her, the confidence that you're going to see, in my opinion, from Richard Mandela to kind of train her up to the race. What we saw from Mama with Beholder in terms of being able to stretch out and him taking some chances with her. I'm not worried about the layoff. There's not a lot to really concern me about her as an individual. It's more or less that someone else kind of jump up and show themselves. And as of right now, it's really been all about her.
Yeah. All right. So some agreement there with the Breeders' Cup juvenile fillies. Before we proceed, though, let's put in a real quick plug for that terrific JK+1 you did with Mark Toothaker last week. I'm only partway through it, but I'm loving what I'm hearing. And you had a few different tidbits. Just people have to listen to get the whole thing, but give them one of the tidbits you got about Tamara.
Well, the fun thing is he talked about how B. Wayne Hughes is showed why he was such a great businessman, because if you partner with him, he's got partnerships with you. Part of his mindset was to support the partnership. And, they had Bolt Doro and I feel like B. Wayne thought that Spendthrift weren't doing enough to support Bolt Doro. And one of the things that he did was he said, look, we're going to breed Bolt Doro to Beholder. That's how committed we are to the stallion. And they gave the marketing team a real lean, right? Like, hey, look, what questions do you have? We bred Beholder to Bolt Doro. So your little mare will be just fine. You just relax. Get over here. Let's get this done. He also talked a little bit about, you talk about JK +1 after dark. He talked a little bit about Bolt Doro's habits in the breeding shed. He's a tricky little fella.
Well, we'll leave folks to investigate that on their own time. Maybe not safe for young ears, it sounds like, in terms of that one. Tamara, of course, named for the legendary B. Wayne Hughes' daughter, which is another indicator that they always thought this one was pretty good. Let's move on, JK, because I know we only got about 10 minutes before you got to go, and we got a lot of predictions to get to, actually. So we'll speed round this a little bit. Let's go with you. Well, we already touched on one of yours. Let's make it official about your prediction about In Italian and the filly and mare turf.
Yeah, I think she's going to go wire to wire. I think that they're going to ride her aggressively. I think that she gets Joel Rosario back, who I think kind of understood the fact that, and I'm not saying that Irad couldn't understand it, but I think Joel knew it. Let her roll. I think she's going to roll on the front end. I think she'll win this weekend at Keeneland, and I think she'll go on to be America's best shot in the filly and mare turf.
Let's keep it with you for your next prediction, JK. This one is about a repeat winner in a race that may end up closing out the Saturday card. That's something we got to talk about at some point on another one of these shows, is the order of these races vis-a-vis the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge, which is definitely going to go to the end of the card, but it's still not certain what those two races are going to be after the Classic. But this race is a prime candidate for it.
I think Elite Power is going to win the sprint back-to-back years. Look, I picked Gunite last time going 7 furlongs at Saratoga. I think that the 7 furlongs fits Gunite's profile a little bit better. I think Elite Power is one of those sprinters that, with real pace to close into and a shorter run for him to explode, I think he's going to be extremely tough, and I think he'll win the Breeders' Cup Sprint and give Bill Mott and Judd Mott back-to-back wins in the sprint.
Well, I've got one that matches up perfectly with this, because it's basically the same prediction. We just have to change the race and the horse's name. How about Cody's Wish going out an open-length winner in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile? I know he didn't necessarily look like he was back to his best form when last seen, but I think there was a change of plans made after the Whitney. I think we got back to classic Bill Mott with a target from there, and the idea was really to use that race to bring him on and then just let him give all he has and give us a fairy tale ending. Not the fairy tale ending necessarily that we horse players wanted, in terms of really wanting him to win at the mile and a quarter, but still, with the whole story behind this horse, everything he's accomplished, if he can go out an impressive winner, what a great final chapter that would be to this career. Are you seeing it with Cody's Wish?
Yeah, look, I mean, to be quick and brief, I think that he ran better than it looked on paper last time. I forgive him for the Whitney. And I think when, in the situation last time is he got the worst trip you could possibly get. And he still was able to pull it off. I understand where people are coming from. It really is price dependent from a betting standpoint for me when it comes to Cody's Wish, but I do believe that he is the most likely winner of the race.
7-2 right now in the international markets is longer than I thought he would be, JK. I mean, there's no way he's going to be that on the day, is there?
No, not with all the features that they'll run and people getting excited about him, and you get the fans on side, and you get them working well, and you get a kind of a field of horses that don't overly inspire. Yeah, I think he'll be shorter than that.
I'm going to do my next one in the Breeders' Cup filly and mare sprint, and this is 3 in a row predictions of back-to-back winners. I think Goodnight Olive's going to win the filly and mare sprint, JK, and it's certainly no offense at all to Echo Zulu, who I think is incredibly talented. I think will go here. This isn't a cheeky prediction about her going to another race. I think she'll go here. But when I rewatched the race from Saratoga, Goodnight Olive ran so well, having to do her own dirty work. I've got to think in the Breeders' Cup filly and mare sprint, she's going to be able to just run her race. I think it's going to bring her forward. I think she can win.
I like your point. I like what you're trying to say here. I don't really have an argument against it. You're right. You haven't said anything that's wrong yet. The only thing I will say,
give me a few minutes.
There's a small chance that Echo Zulu's a freak.
Oh, yeah.
And if that's the case, it doesn't matter what happened. She'll just kind of keep beating Goodnight Olive. If she's not quite to the freak level that I predict she might be, then I agree with what you're saying, that Goodnight Olive did do all the dirty work and could turn the tables.
You made a great point off air about the 6 furlong, 7 furlong difference between horses and what kind of horses end up running in the filly and mare sprint as a result.
Yeah, you like to think there's probably a no hoper speed type that's more of a 6 furlong horse that's going to run in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint and could be a problem for Goodnight Olive early. I mean, I'm sorry, for Echo Zulu. But Echo Zulu's professional. I mean, she'll sit off a horse. She doesn't have to make the front end.
Yeah, it's a fair point. It's going to be a great showdown. I really hope Echo Zulu turns up here because I think that makes this a really, really interesting race. I mean, granted, wherever she goes, her story will be so good and it'll add to any race she goes in. But I feel like this race in particular, we could really bill as a heavyweight fight and have some fun with. Where would you go if you were the connections of Echo Zulu?
Oh, 1,000% I would run in this race. And it's not even close. I'd keep her in training next year, and I would target the 2-turn races next year. I mean, you know, she's a champion already as a 2-year-old. If she wins the 7 furlong race this year, she'll be a champion. And then you could go on and make her a champion as a 2-turn horse. I mean, what kind of page would she have in that situation? A 3-time champion as a 2-year-old, a sprinter, and an older distaff type. Wow.
Forget it. Speaking of distaff types, your next prediction had to do with the Breeders' Cup distaff.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a Hall of Fame, a current Hall of Fame winning trainer wins the distaff. So that gives me Steve Asmussen with Clariere. That gives me Todd Pletcher with Nest. And that gives me Bob Baffert with what's her name? Adair
Manor.
Adair Manor. And then that gives whoever wants to take the other side, it gives you Brad Cox, who'll be in the Hall of Fame with Idiomatic. It gives you Chad Brown, who's going to be in the Hall of Fame with Randomized, who won the Alabama. I feel like it's a pretty good little proposition.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. I'll take the other side of that for a little bit of fun. You're never going to have to twist my arm. Granted, I know I'm going against a lot of heat here numerically, but I'm never going to have my arm twisted too bad to take Brad Cox and Chad Brown on my side of a wager against you. So we'll go ahead and we'll make that one official and track that all the way to the wire. Give us another good talking point. We got a few minutes left, and we both have a prediction on the Breeders' Cup Classic. And it's the opposite prediction. This is another one where only one of us can be right. You go first.
Yeah, I'm going to go 3-year-old here. I think Arabian Night or Arcangelo win. I think Arcangelo is going to kind of be a little bit like Daddy with Arrogate, and get better as he grows up. I didn't really love Arcangelo early parts of this year. He proved me something in the Travers. He makes his own trip. I thought he was getting lucky. He makes his own trip. He's going to take another step forward, I would think, growing up a little bit. Dad didn't mind the layoff. I don't think he'll mind the layoff. And then I like Arabian Night, who's my early pick for the Classic. I thought he's had a lot of ups and downs throughout this year. And to win the Pacific Classic against Older, beating his 3-year-old compadre and Go Rocket Ride, I think Arabian Night could take another step forward. Bob Baffert obviously knows how to win the Classic off of a long layoff. He did it with Arrogate, and he also did it with American Pharaoh. So I'm comfortable with these 3-year-olds.
And you actually have. I'm giving you the best of it here, market-wise, too, because actually you've got the top 3 in the market, Arcangelo, Arabian Night, and Go Rocket Ride. But I feel like some of these older horses are maybe getting a little bit underrated in terms of figures. I mean, if White Barrio runs that race again, how tough is he going to be in this race? And then, I mean, I just keep looking back to what Zandon did this past weekend. I haven't heard all the quotes and seen, every number pulled for him. But I mean, boy, that certainly franked that White Barrio form and made him look like a contender in his own right. And then let's not forget, I didn't make a prediction about the Japanese in this, though I am including part of my logic in winning the mile on the turf mile is getting a Songline in there. But you're going to have 2 Japanese runners who go with a shot in here, I think. It's certainly Anushka Tesoro, the Dubai World Cup winner. But, I may have to go back one more time to my pal from the Derby, Derma Sotogake, who's coming back as well, JK, and I wouldn't rule out. So I think this is a really interesting one. I'm absolutely willing to head-to-head with you, even though I'm giving you the best of it in terms of the numbers.
You just wanted to say Derma Sotogake or whatever Sotogake, whatever it is. You just wanted to say it.
I do pronounce it better than you. I'll say that much. Jonathan, we're gonna have so much
I haven't
more.
pronounced it since May. I just need to hear it one more good time, and then I'll nail it. I just forgot.
Broadcasting professional here, folks, while I sit in my basement. Oh, by the way, nice work knocking the Pick 3 boys into the winner's circle in the contest last weekend. We really appreciate
Which
that.
one? Which contest?
The Santa Anita one. The Santa Anita one. Anyway, I don't want to talk about them on these airwaves. I made a mistake by bringing that up, but sometimes I just spitball and I can't help it. We've got so much more coverage coming up elsewhere on the In the Money YouTube channel, live from 4 to 5 every Thursday. We're going to be doing Horseplayer Happy Hour and inthemoneypodcast.com. What a great place to go to get free analysis from different tracks all around the country and a ton of extra Breeders' Cup stuff, especially on the plus side. Best thing to do, sign up for our free newsletter, inthemoneypodcast.com/email. Keep track of all of it. JK, get where you want to go, and we'll be talking soon. Over and out from JK. AJ, when you chop it up, maybe just lose my last line and just take it from his salute. That was a stylish end, I thought, to things. Good stuff. That was fun to get those early predictions out there. We actually had a ton of good info in it last year. We'll see if any of this stuff from this time around can live up to what we did last year. Appreciate everybody in the comments there. Yeah, I mean, Richard asked about the 3-year-old winning the Classic. We're head-to-head on that one. I agree about how good Echo Zulu looked. I just think that I think there's I think Goodnight Olive's probably underrated coming out of that that last effort. And it's one of those things where sometimes I just get the opinion that a horse should be the one I'm betting on, just based on, you know, when you see them at such a tactical disadvantage and still running so well, when you're going to get a very different tactical situation the next day. We'll see who ends up being right in those various debates. We didn't actually plan that on purpose to be oppo on so many of them, but it just turned out that way naturally. Here's a man we're going to bring in. I hinted at this before. We were going to be talking about the potential order of the Breeders' Cup betting challenge. So he'll be interested to chat about this because he's your reigning BCBC champion. He's Drew Coatney. Drew, what's going on?
Hey, I'm doing good. Busy, but we're good over here. I love that shirt, by the way.
Thank you. It's I should have probably worn a JK collection. This is a collab between Tombolo, the U.S. shirt maker, and Dea, one of my favorite. It's over here. One of my favorite breweries in the UK. They're actually located in Cheltenham, but I discovered them on the London beer scene, and then I make an annual pilgrimage up there the Thursday night of the Cheltenham Festival, and we go and see what's going on, and their beers are spectacular. They do a lot of American-style stuff, some traditional English stuff as well. Anyway, you dig them. I would recommend checking it out. So Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. We had some – it's not really breaking news because it's not definitive, but we did. I was on with Steve Bick today. Thank you, Steve, for having me on. And thank you. I think we had several people who were listening on that other At the Races, the USA At the Races, join us in the contest today because we had a big bump of numbers after I went on there. So thank you, Steve, and all of his listeners. But he was actually communicating with Tim Schramm during the show. The question was, had they given any thought to ending the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge with the Classic? And the answer to that was no. They're going to go, and they are going to do all of the Breeders' Cup races. The Pick 6 as well is going to use the last 6 Breeders' Cup races. But Tim said that not until October 25th will the official order of the races be announced. So what that means is there's a chance that it will not be the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, as was sort of previously suggested, as the anchor leg, or at least this, I think it was supposed to be. And one thing I saw had it as the last race, which would be very chaotic, and I wouldn't mind seeing that move to maybe the first leg of the Pick 6 or whatever, and end on the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Get something more, a little bit more formful in there potentially towards the end. I think it'll help handle. What do you think, Drew? What would you want?
I dirt sprint. I mean, what a good year to have. I mean, the way I play selection oriented, it's nice that there's no clear standout favorite in the Classic, so it's going to be hard to make a big move. We'll use if needed, but I like the idea of the dirt sprint being the last race. I think all of us handicappers know 6 furlongs on the dirt very well. This group is going to be really competitive, and I think it's going to be a great way to end it. So that's what I always heard. If it's the turf sprint, you better bet I'll be using all my ammo the race before, because that's a tough one. I mean, just go look back at Golden Pal.
you wouldn't mind sitting there with a target on your back potentially. Not, I mean, obviously you'd have the right to make some small plays or something, but you wouldn't be afraid to push all in and then have that chaotic race waiting for you. That wouldn't be an impediment if they. I don't think it's going to be that, but just as a theoretical question.
Yeah. I mean, if I hit 150 in the penultimate, right, and maybe it's moved the bar another 5 or 10,000 and play $10,000 worth of bets, assuming someone's with 90 or 80,000 behind me. So trying just to move the bar a little bit. I mean, it seems like the right game theory decision not to push all in 140 across 4 horses, because you'll probably be able to bet whatever in the turf sprint. Probably 3-1, 5-2 is going to be your.
You might have it might be a bigger favorite. It might be 4-1 the field in that race.
Yeah.
It's so chaotic. Just for a laugh, let me see if I can pull a market on that. Now, I am going to bring you in. If you're prepared, I'm going to bring you in here to talk about this next race at Belmont. Did you have a look at it?
I did not. I was looking at every race today except for that one. So let me pull it up here.
We can talk through it. I look quickly. But just for right now, Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. And again, this is sort of just an academic conversation because I think they probably will move it earlier. Kinross listed as the 4-1 favorite. I would think they'd go in the mile, though. Highfield Princess, 5-1. Living the Dream, who's running this weekend, 8-1. Bradsell, 10-1. Caravel listed in there at 12, the shortest of the domestics. I don't think Casa Creed will run in there. I think he'll go mile. Let's take a quick look. They've been getting their numbers off pretty quickly. Boy, it'd be great if we can actually have the result of the qualifier and read the 40 names today. I have to be careful because I do have something else to record shortly after this. I can't stay on late, but I think it just might work out for us where we can have a look at this stuff and give out some winners as we approach. It's so wild, this time of year. Race 9 being at 4:54 before 5 o'clock. I mean, I kind of love it. It's the one thing about Saratoga. The days just they're so long, they're so long. And it can be hard to get other stuff done. It is not this thing nice about having the racing day done when the work day is done. Richard asked about who the best U.S. sprinter on turf is. Yeah, got to be Caravel. And I think she's running this weekend. So we'll have another line on her form before that. JK and I have always kicked the tires on the idea of Big Invasion as a Breeders' Cup turf sprint horse, and might be an extremely big price when it comes to this year's running. Let's see if Big Invasion is even listed here. That's one that might be interesting to take a shot at if completely ignored, and he might be. Yeah, 33-1 Big Invasion. You could do worse than that. International followers. They're heading to the gate. We better talk about this race real quick.
Yep.
Anything jump out at you in this 40,000 maiden claimer?
Yeah, 2 horses. The 4, I think, was I'm just reading off the form here. Too much of a hot pace last time out. So hard to trust favorite, but I'll put on top. But the other horse I like a little bit of the price is Cash Bale, number 7 at 36-1. Blinkers go on, dropping class. Had a run under his belt already, 4-year-old with a lot of upside. And I mean, ran decent 3 back at Saratoga on the turf at this level. So I don't think it's insane to get into. It just needs to be up near the pace a little earlier. So I think that one could blow up the tote board because this is
I've got a long shot too. The 5 Katani, I think, is a little bit interesting here. Showed speed on dirt going a mile at Saratoga. And just looking at the time form US pedigree ratings, appears to be better suited to the turf, has the pace figures maybe to spy on a runner like Vince the Prince and keep him open, keep him honest. Mm-hmm. And who knows, going this route of ground, maybe just has to stick around and could be heard from late. I mean, it's a goofy one, but I mean, at 35-1, why not take a little bit of a shot? We'll see what happens in this race. It's going to get a winner for our BC seat we're giving away today. Remember, we'll do that again next week. You should play. Oh, you're already max qualified, aren't you, for the BC? So yeah. The seats still count, though, if you want to get involved and support these great charities. Chris Couples says, usually looking at West Coast horses, suggesting Lane Way. Very good over that course. Could be dangerous with a good post. It's not a bad idea. I'm a big Lane Way fan as well, and I do think running on the out of that chute, there's potential for chaos and there's potential for it being a race that goes more to the home cooking, as opposed to the top of the market, which is going to be Caravel and a bunch of Europeans. They're off. Let's go to the call.
Storm now up to challenge and hurry from the outside. So 3 of them are right together here in the early going. And towards the inside, it is Katani racing in 4th. Silent Running is next in 5th. Waffler is in 6th. Then Testadora in 7th, followed by Just for Luck on the outside in 8th. And the trailers are Cash Bail and Your Mission.
And the trip I want with
move
the 5
around
anyway.
the clubhouse turn. And the leader here is Vince the Prince by 3/4 of a length.
7's not as far back as
Storm is racing in 2nd through a quarter in
you'd
22
think so.
and 4.
In the
Hurry
thick of it.
clear on the
Moving
outside
a
in
little
3rd.
bit.
Katani saves ground down at the rail in 4th. Then it's the duo of Waffler and Just for Luck, followed next by
Yeah, your 5
Silent
is getting a
Running.
dream trip.
Then Your Mission, Cash Bail on the outside. Testadora
Only had the
is
one
in
run.
10th. Half mile, 49
But the
seconds.
market
Vince
went
the
too
Prince
far.
is the pace setter here, and in front
I
by a
think
length
the
and a half
4 got the
now.
job
As
done.
Katani
Yeah,
comes
favorites,
through down at
favorites
the
going
rail.
well,
On
but
the
the Force is
outside
running in
is
the inside.
Hurry. English Storm in between horses as the field goes into the far turn. It is still Vince the Prince. The lead
Probably
is the
not
length
fast
and a
enough for
quarter.
these closers.
Down at the rail is
I don't know. 7
Katani.
was
On the
read a little
outside
too
is
tepidly for
Hurry.
my liking.
English Storm is in between horses as they come into the stretch now. Then it is Just for Luck
When he
and
finished,
Waffler, Silent Running, looking to squeeze through down at the rail.
50
Vince
feet
the
and
Prince
finished.
has a 3-length lead now with
50 feet and
Katani.
finished.
Katani moving up now on the outside. It is
Ah,
Vince the
hanging
Prince
a bit,
and
maybe.
Katani. Just for Luck moves into 3rd. They're coming for the finish, and Vince the Prince scores in front-running fashion. Katani
Well,
was
well.
2nd, and
It's some
Just
good
for Luck
ideas.
Yeah,
finished 3rd.
very well. All right. So let's wait for this to become official. We can talk about whatever for 3 or 4 minutes here, and we can actually read our 40 players who are going to move on to next week. So the way the playoffs work, for those that don't know, there's a cut line. So we started with 80. We'll have 40 after today. Then next week, 40 to 20, 20 to 10. And then those 10 will play winner take all in an expanded show where I'm very much looking forward to getting our, I didn't even give this guy a shout out yet. This is talking about a host fail. Jeff Mandry, our overall Horseplayer Happy Hour Tour winner, going to the BCBC. We're going to get him on, and we'll get as many of the contestants as we can. I want to get a bunch of stories. I want to get a bunch of past Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge stories, though. If past years are any indication, we might have a lot of newer players. We might not have a lot of old history, but we'll see. We'll see what we get, and we're going to have some fun with it, getting more BCBC stories as time goes on. Exacta's going to pay all right here with the Vince the Prince and Katani. And that last
round, our 2 top picks, we would have been rich.
That's right. We should have bet the Exacta. What are you doing as far as gambling this weekend? Where will your attention be focused?
You know, I used to have this theory, like I have to be in good shape to look at PPs and be really, really like every weekend grinding. Nowadays with the kid, I've really taken a step back on that. I think even the Breeders' Cup, I was taking a month break before I walked into it. So it is a grind. I mean, you're looking at PPs for a week solid for 2 days. So I'm really, you know, I hate to say it, there's a ton of great races. I'm going to be watching and just looking at the form and taking notes more than anything.
You're in track mode. The big dance is coming up. You will not be. So you're not playing in the Keeneland Fall Contest, then? That's a little surprising to me.
No, not surprising because this thing here would disappear if I was playing in the contest the day of our anniversary.
Oh, okay, that's a legitimate. That's a legitimate excuse. That's a legitimate.
I would like to stay gainfully employed and also be happily married. So those 2 things.
Yeah, paperwork. It's very expensive. It's very expensive.
Yeah, she's understanding and was with me the whole way. High five John Sadler as he walked by the flight line. But to be peeking at a placing a $20,000 wager at dinner
on the anniversary, you got to choose your spots.
Yeah, I know it's killing me. So I'm taking a little bit of a pause. I'll be looking, but other than that, I'm in kind of autopilot mode. Really just fire fresh because I think to me, especially with my bankroll, wagering the amount that I do, it feels better if it's more game selection oriented, and just keeping the budget smaller and say, hey, this is where my biggest EV play is possible at the Breeders' Cup, and go full forward with confidence there. So
absolutely. No, and I'm glad you gave Nancy a shout out. She's fantastic. Her only known flaw being her affinity for you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, and an Ohio State fan, but we won't go down that road. Which I'm going to the game on Saturday. And the spread at 20 points seems a little too good to not bet on the Dogs of Maryland, both undefeated teams coming into the horseshoe. So into the shoe, excuse me. Sorry, Ohio State fans.
Very funny.
No, it'll be good. Yeah, and she is great and understanding. And yeah, we need to get the spouses all together on a podcast to moan and groan about how many times we've had to walk away to go to the bathroom at dinner.
We've teased that idea for years about having a husbands and or wives of horse players show where we just get them all to complain about us. There's just no way it won't be hilarious.
Yeah, well, I think also it might uncover too much of momentum for an advocacy group. You know, I'm obsessed with football, and Nancy showed me Phil Mickelson. You know, he posted about his gambling addiction that she had, and she was, you know, are you that obsessed with football and horse racing? I was like, well, yeah, but I don't let it.
He's a bad example. He's a bad example. He's, you know, it's like most fun things you can take too far, whether you're talking about, you know, drinking, gambling, sex, whatever. It can all reach a place where it's an issue, and we take it seriously, and there are resources for those in need. But yeah, I don't think we're quite in the Phil Mickelson category. Let's put it that way. All right, this is official. They should have rung up, AJ. Let's roll through the two leaderboards. I'll make sure to get them not mixed up this time, if I can manage that. So this one is the qualifier. So this one, the key name, he was there the whole time. Joseph Hardoon wins with 53, and then Robert Little and Chris Couples, good to see Chris's name up there, pick up some of the spoils in terms of credits, breakage, etc., etc. Hopefully we'll get more entries next week, and we can give away another seat. This is going to be a challenge, but let me roll through the 40 names, AJ, and then we'll get out of here. We're almost on time. That's still the first one, right, Drew? Help me out here.
What's the first one?
This is still the first leaderboard, right? This is the qualifier. This is not the playoffs. Yeah, there should be another leaderboard if you toggle up there. Yeah, there you go. That's the one. All right, here we go. John Gasper, Terrence Channon, Kevin Nunez, Alexa Zepp, Chris Couples, Matt Miller, David Brownfield, Julie LeBoyko, Daniel Edwards, Brendan Snodgrass, Brian Hofacker, Pat Quagliero, Chris Littlemore, former NHC champion, Mark Henderson, Daryl Parker, Michael Cavana, has been at Final Tables before with us, Kerry Basore, Mark Winland, Ernest Hay Jr., loyal listener, and very OG in the money fan. Good to see that name there. Ellen, Patrick, Level, Jonathan Cummings, Mark Winland, Jonathan Cummings again, Alexa Zepp again, Silky Wilkie, Seth Wilkie, raise your white Russian. You have advanced to the next round. Stephen McNatten, Dennis Madsen, Robert Courtney, Howard Johnson, Julie LeBoyko again, Austin Kale, Michael Domovo of InTheMoneyPodcast.com, Tanya Taylor, good to see her name there as well, Michael Oldham, Christopher Olson, Michael Domovo again, Andrew Yoretsky, Tanya Taylor again, Daryl Parker again, Dennis Clark. Great stuff. We'll see you next week, folks. 4:00. Join us live. Tell your friends, play in this qualifier. Play as you play in the playoffs, play in this. Get your 2 seats in the span of a couple of weeks, as we've had many people do on these shows. Drew, a closing thought from you.
No, have a great weekend, all.
Excellent stuff. For Drew, for JK, thank you, producer AJ. Ran you around like a nut today. Appreciate you very much. Our friends at the Breeders' Cup, especially Haley and Justin. Everybody who watched, commented, watches the replay, all that good stuff. Keep locked. InTheMoneyPodcast.com. Sign up for In the Money Media YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatel. May you win all your photos.